we had a big announcement late last week. The show is going live. We will be live on Friday night after the weigh-in, 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. The Jerron Boots Ennis, Wiesman Lima weigh-in will take place on Friday night in Philly. Immediately afterwards, we are going to have a live show there. Eddie Hearn scheduled to join us on show. And Sergio, I'll give the fans another announcement. I've got another guest ready to go. Danny Swift Garcia is going to be there. Danny Garcia is going to join us at the venue. We're going to sit down and talk to him. He's got a fight coming up the week after at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. So Danny Garcia will be there. And I've got a couple more, man. I've got a couple more big names that are interested in attending and being on the live show. There are no tickets you need. You walk in, attend the weigh-in, see Boots Ennis, and then stick around. We'll go right into Fighter and the Rider live, the first time we are going live. And
Chris Mannix, now before you start, okay. Man, I'm thrilled and happy about this because this was a conception of an idea that I pitched to our producer when you pitched this show to them. I said, wouldn't it be a great idea to open up this pod to the fans and we can meet and greet? And you looked at me like I was an idiot. Here we are, 5 years later. Your life totally changed. Success has hit you in the head. Now you think this is your idea. This was something that I thought about a long time ago, baby. After the weigh-ins, let's have our show in front of everybody. And now it's coming to fruition. That was my idea. Give me credit for it.
You are an unbelievable moron. Because
give me credit. Did I not say that?
I'm not giving you credit.
Say that at a meeting.
I don't care when you said it. This was an idea that I had going back to 2019 when there was a different regime at DAZN, when we were talking about doing it before the pandemic, and it went to hell after that. I have done live shows, Sergio. I did a 4-city NBA podcast tour. I've done this before. You're the guy that thinks of this great idea, does nothing to to make it come to fruition, and then takes credit for it. That's who you are.
No, I am, but at least give me the credit that I brought it up at a meeting, and you looked at me like I was just ignorant. Did I bring it up at a meeting, yes or no?
You did.
Okay, then that thought got planted, and that plant and thought grew into a beautiful rose. Now it's budding for both of us 5 years later.
God. You know what? I think jetpacks are a good idea. When jetpacks become a thing, does that mean I should get credit for them?
What the hell's a jetpack?
Forget it. Never mind. All right, let's get into the Boxing Hall of Fame ballot, which was revealed this week. Some big names on that ballot. Gennady Golovkin makes his first appearance on the ballot. Steve Collins on the ballot as well. But one name in particular, Sergio, making his debut on the Boxing Hall of Fame ballot. That is one Vernon the Viper Forrest, the former world champion, someone you are very familiar with. His last two fights before he passed away tragically came against you. You won your world title against him at 154, lost it in the next fight after. You have been banging the drum for a long time, Sergio, to see Vernon Forrest on the ballot. Make your case to the Hall of Fame voters why the Viper deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Listen, I don't need to make the case since Ray Boom Boom Mancini and Arturo Gatti are not in the Hall of Fame. Vernon Forrest outshines both of them put together. Vernon the Viper Forrest not only was a 92 Olympian, two-division champion at 147, 154, beat the pound-for-pound number one, or arguably the number one fighter in the world when he was at his absolute peak and best in Shane Mosley, and was avoided by all the big names. All the big names that didn't want to face Vernon Forrest. I'm talking about Oscar de la Hoya, Felix Trinidad, Fernando Vargas, Winky Wright. None of these guys wanted to mention Vernon Forrest's name. That's the reason I believe Vernon the Viper Forrest, he earned, just like Donald Curry earned his way into the Hall of Fame 5 years ago. Vernon Forrest, another two-division champion, earned his way into the Hall of Fame. I mean, he was a perfect fighter, Chris Mannix. And I'm not just saying that because I fought this guy twice. I fought Shane Mosley, who's now in the Hall of Fame, and I fought Vernon Forrest, who I hope gets into the Hall of Fame. And I can tell you, Vernon's a way better fighter than Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley was an incredible gift and talent. But Vernon Forrest was an artist. He had the size, and that's what made him so hard to beat. He was 6 foot at 147, 154. Long reach, long middleweight reach. He used that reach, but he knew how to fight. He knew how to fight on the inside. He was mean. He had that Olympic pedigree. Excellent body puncher. Had speed, had power, had range. He had everything. He was a complete fighter. You don't hear that often. being a complete fighter. Vernon Forrest was a complete fighter. I remember before I fought him, my coach Dean Campos told me that's one guy you should never face, never fight. I know it was a long time ago, but he goes, that style right there is hell for everybody. That guy is going to be hard to beat. And he was right. He says, I'd much rather you fight De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad. This was in the early, 2000s. Trinidad, Vargas, all these guys. Vernon Forrest, that's the guy everyone's going to be avoiding. And sure enough, his entire career, the big names avoided him, and for good reason.
Yeah, as a voter, I would say Vernon Forrest has a very strong case. A 16-year professional career, 41 wins, 3 losses, 1 no contest. He was a world champion across 2 weight classes, a unified champion, fighter of the year back in 2002 as awarded by the Ring and the Boxing Writers Association of America. So he had a decorated pro career. And of course, we know how his life ended 2009. He was murdered at a gas station. Tragic ending to the life of Vernon Forrest. But up until that point, he had what you can very much say was a Hall of Fame caliber career. And I think one of the reasons he's going to get in, look, let me say this first. I think he has a case to get in objectively in a vacuum. Like whether you look at any of the other guys that have gotten in as well. But I mean, look, this is what we talked about in the last Hall of Fame ballot when it came around. Vinny Paz gone in. Vinny Pazienza is in the Boxing Hall of Fame. You cannot, on no planet, make the case that Vinny Pazienza is a more worthy Hall of Fame fighter than Vernon Forrest. You can say that Vinny Paz gets some credit because of what he overcame and the near death, the injury, and the thing that was glamorized in Hollywood. But as far as accomplishments in the ring, Vernon Forrest is a far more accomplished fighter than Vinny Pazienza. He's a more accomplished fighter than a lot of guys, frankly, at least a handful in the last 20 years that have gotten in the Hall of Fame. I'm surprised it took him this long to get on the ballot. Now that he's on there, I mean, won't make my selections for a few weeks now, but I will say I am leaning heavily towards voting for Vernon Forrest on the surface because of what he accomplished, and also because, hey, Boxing Hall of Fame, you set the baseline here. You made Vinny Pazienza a Hall of Famer. If Vinny Paz is the floor for what it means to be a Boxing Hall of Famer, Vernon Forrest deserves to be in there.
Vernon Forrest was a lineal champion. He beat the pound for pound #1 best fighter in the world, like I mentioned. He has the accolades. I mean, I just don't understand what are the requirements to get in the Hall of Fame. This man covered everything from the Olympics to a champion in 2 divisions and was only stopped one time by Ricardo Mayorga, a loss that he redeemed himself. And then from there, Mayorga ended up fighting every huge name because he had power, he had charisma, and he always came to fight. So there was no shame losing to Mayorga and then, coming up short with me. And then, of course, the very next fight, he beats me in that rematch. Vernon Forrest was an incredible all-around, complete fighter, and he will get in the Hall of Fame. I'm gonna go out on a limb right here. I know you're a voter. I'm not. He will get in the Hall of Fame because anyone that knows boxing, anyone that knows the ABCs in boxing, knows that Vernon the Viper Forrest was a complete fighter with no weaknesses. So if other boxers that are in the Hall of Fame, I can name a lot of them. Those are just 2 that we mentioned in Vinny Pazienza and Gotti, but I mean, Ray Mancini, I don't want to go down the list. I don't want to diminish their names, but there's a lot of them. Vernon Forrest outclasses, outshines, and is better than these guys. So Vernon Forrest will make the Hall of Fame. Mark my words.
Yeah, I think the only real argument against him is that he lost to you.
Oh, stop. Hold on. To defend myself, I already fought and didn't lose against a already Hall of Famer in Shane Mosley. So I went 36 rounds with Vernon Forrest and Shane Mosley. I went 36 rounds with hopefully 2 Hall of Famers, Chris Mannix. So you can't say that it was bad luck for him. No, I could fight. And these guys.
And look, if you had prepared for the second fight in the way that you did for the first one, you probably would have beat him. Instead, you spent 8 weeks at Caesar's Palace and spent all your money.
No, it was they got me off guard. It was the Roberto Duran effect. You know, when Sugar Ray Leonard beat no, I'm sorry, when Duran beat Leonard, what did they do? It was an immediate rematch. Duran was
Yeah.
caught off guard, overweight because he was still celebrating that first fight. It was genius on their part. So I got to give credit to Al Heyman, who Vernon Forrest. That's another thing.
First
That was
fighter that Al Heyman worked with, I believe.
There you go. That was Al Heyman, the great Al Heyman, you know, advisor to a lot of great fighters. That was his first fighter, is Vernon Forrest. So, you know, he's a shoo-in in my opinion. I'm not a voter, but he's a shoo-in. And I hope he gets in because now that he's passed, you know, his family and his kids and his legacy can continue enshrined in that great Hall of Fame.